Hello, good morning or afternoon, everyone, wherever you might be joining us from. I am Old Tam, and you've found your way to oldtamlinksgolf.com via our YouTube channel. I wanted to introduce my good friend and cohort, Mr. T.S. McDivitt, Michael Flaherty.
Morning, lads.
Also known as Scooter Flaherty.
There you go, Red. There you go. Just Scooter.
Just Scooter. And what's that hat you're wearing today?
Coming to you from Valley Bunyan.
How's the weather?
Rainy, overcast, beautiful day.
So we like to pay homage to the links courses that we play and love and study. I've happened to be wearing my Hinch hat today, which we played in a downpour for about 4 hours last spring. It was quite a joy, an Old Tom original. At any rate, here at Old Tam Links Golf, we like to explore and celebrate the magic of links golf, the courses, certainly, the travel, the towns, the characters, the traditions that make those lifetime memories of links golf courses. With that, I've talked about our journey on the website before, and our journey meaning myself and Scooter and our good friend Woody Thomas 7W MacWood that passed away at a young age at 52 years old. But we talk about our journey growing up in Columbus, Ohio, which is a golf mecca, and we'll go into that here over the next 20 minutes or so. And Upper Arlington was a suburb specifically that we grew up in, going to that high school. And I thought it was only fitting that we wanted to launch our interview section with a good friend and someone that actually was a part of that journey ever since grade school, junior high, high school, all the way up to today. So with that, I would like to introduce a good friend of ours, Michael Albert. Al, how's everything down there in the Bradenton area?
Everything's peachy today. It's a great time to be alive, and a great time to be retired, and a great time to be playing golf. And talking to you young gentlemen today. So
thank you for the young gentleman comment. Are you playing today?
I'm not. I played yesterday. Yes.
Nice.
And I'm playing tomorrow and Saturday and Tuesday. Anyway, and Sunday. So
as Scooter would say, you're playing tomorrow, which is Saturday, and yesterday, which is Saturday, because when you're retired, every day is a Saturday, right?
That is very true. That is very true.
So Al, thanks again for joining us. So a little bit of our past together. We all made our way to Columbus, Ohio. Our parents did somehow, some way, in some form. My dad grew up in Southern Ohio, went into World War II and survived, and came back after a few years and went to Ohio State University, and we settled there in Columbus. Tell us a little bit about your early days and how your family made its way to Columbus.
My dad came from Alliance, Ohio, which is up in northeast Ohio, and he went to Alliance High School. He was the oldest of 15 children, 13 of them that survived to past 6 years old. But he was at 14 years old. He had to leave the house and move to the golf course because there were too many mouths in the house. And moved to the golf course at 14, and the members taught him how to play golf and caddy and sponsored him some youth tournaments and things like that. And he played a pretty heavy youth schedule, playing in the Ohio JCs and invitationals with the members, etc. And by the time he went to school at 17, 18 years old, he got a full scholarship to Purdue to play golf after playing golf for 4 years. So he ended up there at Purdue and ended up in Columbus because after he graduated at Purdue, he went to the Marine Corps. But after he got out of the Marine Corps, he came to Columbus and got into pharmaceutical sales. John Bishop was a member at Scioto Country Club and made quick friends with him. He was also friends with the amateur community in Columbus, which included Jack Nicklaus at a young age and several other really good amateurs. They knew who my dad was, and so they played pretty often. So he ended up in Columbus. My mom also graduated from Purdue, and they married in 1954, and I was born in 1958.
As was I. Yeah, 1958. It was a good year. So, yeah, I remember your dad, quite fondly. He was such a great guy. And Yeah, about so did he compete against, obviously he was at Purdue when Jack was at Ohio State. Did those?
No, Jack was not at the same time. They weren't that. Jack's a little bit younger, about 6 years younger than my dad.
Okay.
I think my dad would have been my dad would have been 94 this year, and I think Jack's 88. I think 88 or 87. So he was just a young amateur at the time. They lived in on the west side. Jack's dad was a pharmacist at the time, but he was a member at Scioto too, and that's how Jack grew up playing and learning from Jack Grout, etc. They actually ended up playing golf together on Jack's wedding day in 1960. So that's pretty cool to remember that. But lived in Columbus all his life. My dad did.
Yeah, and so that's right. I recall that. And so yeah. So so tell me a little bit more about that. He played golf with Jack on his wedding day.
Yeah, 1960 with Bob Hogue and another gentleman named Ward Wetlaufer, which I don't really know, but I think he was a pretty good amateur at the time. They played at OSU, and Jack was married in the afternoon on that same day.
So here we are. You want to talk us through this picture?
Bob Hogue on the left, and then Jack, obviously, Ward Wetlaufer, which I'd never met, but then my dad's on the right, kind of bowling at a young age, but he was still a handsome guy. Note the bushy eyebrows. So the Sean Connery look.
I was gonna say, yeah, he would have made a good James Bond, don't you think?
He would have for sure.
And I remember the Hogue family. Didn't we go to school with a couple Hogues that were golfers?
Yeah, Kenny Hogue, who recently passed away last couple months, and then Wes Hogue, and then Bobby Hogue. So the three boys, and then Louise and Bob were very close friends of my parents.
Yeah, Bobby
he was one of the original captains club at Muirfield Village.
Nice. Scooter, I think you may have raised your hand for a question.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, I think Wes Hogue's son, Bo Hogue,
that's right.
Just took a shot at the pro tour and did all right till a couple of years ago. I don't know if he's dropped out or not, but golf has definitely been big in the Hogue family, and pretty impressive to see your dad in with that bunch. When my folks moved to Columbus, the only people they knew were your parents because of their Marine Corps Association, and it must have been down at Lejeune or Quantico. And I remember my dad telling me that your dad was basically the Marine Corps ringer for any golf event the Marine Corps needed to be represented in.
That is true. 1955, he was in the Marines. He won the All-Marine in 1955. And in 1956, he traveled and won the All-Service, which was all the armed services. So
pretty incredible. Pretty incredible.
The people he met through golf, and I think that's the kind of the journey we're all on with golf. That we've met a lot of great people through golf, and it's really enriched our lives. So it definitely did his. And as he told me back then, and as I played at Paris Island last year, and they were having the All Services Championship at Paris Island, and I said the course is in pretty good shape. He goes, "That's because the commandant at this base is a golfer."
Well, now,
so that's I guess that's how it goes with Marine Corps bases and Air Force bases and things like that.
I think that's probably.
I played at MacDill down here a couple of weeks ago, which is where Central Command is for the Joint Special Operations, and I got to tell you, I don't think they've turned on the water there in years, so maybe they don't have the budget. So. It's a beautiful layout. It's very, very beautiful layout, but I'd love to get a hold of their budget and spend some money on water, because it would be really, really nice place. So,
speaking of budget, Al, I'm thinking that your dad probably took some money from a few people over the years.
He probably did. He always set up his working career, and it involved a lot of golf too. At the time he came up, which is around the time of Arnold Palmer, etc. In order to actually make a living at golf, you had to be sponsored by somebody, because there just wasn't enough prize money back then. And he chose, starting in a young family, which I was part of. I was the first kid, and he chose to go to work instead. And he had a very rich working career, but most of it, almost every week, he made sure he had time for golf. So he called on doctors and hospitals, and every Wednesday the doctors usually had off. So he played golf Wednesdays and Saturdays and Sundays. So he was always involved with this passion, which was golf.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that was the initial golden age of pharmaceutical sales, wouldn't you think?
That's when
entertaining, right?
Let the old guys stay in it a while, but now they just have young kids. So and there's so much AI information now. Who knows if there's even people in it doing very well for very long. So.
Yeah, good point. Good point. So you mentioned, talked a little bit about Jack, and I think you've had an ongoing relationship with the Nicklaus family. Am I right there?
I did. We were members at Scioto growing up, and Barbara was usually there in the summer with her young kids. And I'm not saying Michael Nicklaus was named after me, but maybe so. I got to walk around with her several years at the Masters. It was always nice to see Jackie shout me out in the crowd, and Jack come over to talk to me, and people wondered who I was. So, yeah, it was special. When my mother passed away in 1984, and we got a call from the 18th hole at Pebble Beach after he just got done playing the Pebble Beach Invitational. Jack and my mom had just passed away, and he was one of the first people to express his condolences. So that was nice. As I was growing up, Jackie was a pretty good friend of mine, even though he was several years younger. I was kind of at 17, 18, was kind of the ward of the young players, and he'd come to play in the Ohio Junior, etc. One story would be that we were playing the Ohio Junior in Springfield, Ohio, and Jack was going with Angelo Argia on Golden Bear 1 up to Glen Abbey in Oakville, Ontario. And I told the Springfield Tower that Golden Bear 1 was coming in for a landing. They go, we don't have a flight plan for that. And I said, it's Jack Nicklaus and Angelo Argia coming down to drop his son off. And 5 minutes later, the skies open up, the plane drops out of the sky, and he comes onto the runway, and Jack and Angelo get out of the car with his clubs, and it blew me away. I don't know if it blew them away or not, but
that's a great story.
It was pretty memorable for me.
Yeah.
For me, if you remember Angelo with his wavy white hair and
yes,
carrying Jack's bags for so many years. Yeah,
smoking cigs.
Yeah, and Jack was flying a private jet back then.
Jack
had to be about 1974. 1974.
Right around the time of Muirfield Village, right? Roughly.
Yes.
Or the beginning of, I should say.
Well, you may have been with me, Tom. At least Woody was, my friend Woody, who you talked about in reference at the beginning of the show. I'm pretty sure that Woody went out there with me, and we walked the course before it was ever open. We would find our ways to worm our way onto courses a lot of times, but we did this when there was a trailer set up up by where the Bogey Inn was, up on the northeast corner there. And we went on the course, and we started playing. We got to the clubhouse, which was being constructed at Muirfield Village, and there stood Jack on the veranda there, and we didn't know he was there. But I was playing with David Savick. I think it may have been Woody, and it may have been somebody else, but we were playing, and they let us play on. So we played on. That's a perfect picture. That's how we would have looked. And
so for the viewing audience,
I can tell that's Woody on the left. I can tell that's Flaherty in the middle. I can tell that's OldTam on the right. I can tell.
Well, yeah. So for the viewing audience, this is the three of us, the founders of OldTam. This is circa 1980. It was spring break. We were unlucky enough that we were working stiffs going to college, so we didn't go down to Florida somewhere and hit the beach. So we played golf, and that happened to be Al. We were walking Scarlet that day at OSU. But that's Scooter on the left.
Yeah.
Woody in the middle.
Okay.
And of course, OldTam there. Carrying our Sunday bags. Look at that. Look at Scooter's bag. Was that your plaid red bag, Scooter?
I still play with that bag, right? It's a good bag.
What I noticed, and I always noticed about Woody when he was playing, he always covered up his clubs with an old woolen mitten, and I kind of see that in that picture.
Yeah, exactly. That was always his head cover. Al, you might remember his putter? He called it Black Byron. It was a black blade fiber. I think it was fiberglass, wasn't it? Something like that. I was talking to B the other day. That's the only putter Woody ever played with.
That's wild.
Isn't that crazy?
I played with a lot of my dad's old ones. One of them was called White Fang. I think it was a woman's white putter, but I played with it a couple of times. He won a couple tournaments with it. So
That's awesome.
and
So
I still got a couple of his old Bristols and a couple of his old Tommy Armors. So kind of brings back memories, and make a birdie putt with one of those, you feel kind of special.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So getting back to what you're talking about, the Nicklaus family and such, and walking the Masters, do you have a favorite place at Augusta that you hung out at, or did you just follow Jack all 18 holes, or do you like, Amen Corner? Did you camp out anywhere?
I was lucky enough, Old Tam, to go 13 times to Augusta. Of the 13 years I lived in Georgia, I always had some business connections that were always, they weren't looking for people, but they flew a lot of people in from all over the country, and sometimes people wouldn't show up, and I would answer the call every time. You want to play? I said, or you want to come down? I go, yeah, I'm coming down. So
Absolutely.
and lucky enough a couple times to meet my dad down there. He came with the green superintendent from Scioto a couple times because the architects always got in free. My dad was on the greens committee for the U.S. Senior Open, some other things, so he was always on the list to get into, I guess. And I was lucky enough to get in too. And one year, I guess, I even Jack and Barbara were looking for extra tickets for Nan, which is their daughter, who was engaged at the time, and they needed extra tickets, so I gave them 2 tickets. So that's kind of something to remember.
That's a one-time lifetime.
Barbara taught me to walk that course, and how to walk that course, and where to stand to see absolutely every shot without ever having to look over anybody's shoulder. So I knew where to stand in the woods. I knew where to stand up on the hills, and I never forgot that, because I went 13 times after that and was able to. I walked a couple times with Kay Kessler from the Columbus Dispatch and Citizens. When he went out to Golden, Colorado after that to run the international. And so I walked around with him a couple times, and I followed lots of different people. I didn't just follow Jack. I got to be there for some really special moments. I got to be there for Phil Mickelson's first round there. I got to be there for to see Fuzzy play. I got there to see. I saw Tiger, the first Masters he won, shoot 40 plus on the front 9 and 30 something on the back 9 and go on to win by a bunch.
I remember that year.
You got to see playoffs and chip ins, and it's a magical place. And if any viewers out there want to know, if you ever get the chance even one time to go and walk that course, whether they're playing the tournament or not, you should, because you'll appreciate every roll on the greens and everything that you see. I was lucky enough to play it once. My highlight is that I made 2 birdies on 7 and 8, but my other highlight is that I 5-putted number 14. So just it's something special, but it's something that I'll always remember and never forget. I mean, I'm sure it's changed since I was last there, but I'll never forget the rolls and the contours and how different it really is, and how good those players really are.
I think I use the term, it's in a league of its own. I mean, people rate golf courses, and the usual suspects are always at the top: Pine Valley, Augusta, the old course. Augusta's just in its own league, right? It's so different, and and I think everybody listening to this that knows anything about the Masters or Augusta, it is very hilly, and it's a tough walk, and the TV tends to flatten things out, right?
Yeah, really so. And there's no better place than sitting on the top of the hill by the clubhouse and just looking out over the grounds and be able to see and hear almost every hole, knowing where the roars are coming from because you're familiar with the shots. And anyway, it's something I'll never forget. I hope I get to go there again sometime.
I hope you do as well. So just kind of a funny question. What's your sandwich of choice at the Masters?
It was a chicken salad. Salad. And I can tell you, it's all true. All the prices at the Masters are very well under control. You can get a sandwich still for $4. You can get a beer for $3. You can get a Coke for $2. It's just not like where any place else you go. It's just like they really care about the patrons' experience. So
yeah, kudos to them. You gotta love that. So shifting gears, and that's great stuff, Al. Shifting gears a little bit.
My dad did play there in 1954. He did stay in the Crow's Nest, and he did hitchhike to get down there to play in the Masters. He didn't. He was at the fraternity house at Purdue, and he was working the kitchen. One day he just wasn't there, and they didn't know where he went, and that's where he went. And he just came back, and they asked where he'd been. He said he played in the Masters. So he got a ride back from Augusta from Johnny Revolta, who was a pro at the time, and Johnny Revolta took him in his Cadillac stretch from Augusta clear back to Chicago, and dropped my dad off at Purdue on the way up.
That's fantastic. That's a great story, and that's a good segue. Speaking of Cadillacs and getting rides.
Real quick before the segue, just the reason he did play. I don't know if I told you this. I probably did. He did beat Arnold Palmer in the 1953 U.S. Amateur semifinals, and at the time, the 4 semifinalists, all of them made it into the Masters field. So that's why he was in the spring field at 1954 Masters.
Wow, that's incredible. What a great story.
He was 21 when he played. I confirmed that today. So
did they have a cut back then, or did he play all round?
I can always say he made the cut because there was no cut back then.
Little live golf action back then. Huh?
I will also tell you that in 1972, he passed away now in 1989, but in 1972 or 3, he was able to return there as a +2 handicap. He shot a 70 from the back tees at Augusta at that age. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
I think I remember you telling me he must have had an incredible short game.
Probably non-paralleled of anybody I've ever seen play. I mean, even the pros, he was Sevy like. He has a magician. He's a magician.
Yeah, real shot maker.
A real shot maker. And we were just talking about that yesterday. My teacher here in Tampa is Sean Jacklin, who is Tony Jacklin's son. Mm. That's who teaches me, and I've just recently started lessons with him. But we were talking about links golf at dinner last night. And we were just talking about that a couple of us would really love to go play some links golf in Ireland and in Scotland both. And we were just talking about being a shot maker, and that's the real challenge, and that's the most fun of it. You take your wedges out of the bag, and we're chipping with 6s and 7 irons, and you're trying to run it 150 yards up the fairway. And I couldn't. I'm looking forward to doing that.
Well, we got to get you over there. I mean,
I'm sure the 3 of us will do that someday for sure.
We absolutely will. And one of my there's a couple fun things, and you hit the nail on the head. It's about manufacturing shots. It's about keeping it under the wind. It's about hitting a knockdown 5 iron into a 3 club win, and it goes all of 140 or 50 yards, right? But my favorite is the Texas wedge. I like to see how far off the green I can putt it. I think I hit a putt. And B and I would always, do that and joke about that. But back in the day, but I think I hit a putt that was probably 35 yards off the front of the green, and it went another 60 feet to the cup. I mean, it's just the crazy things you can do over there that make it links golf. Right?
Yeah, and I think if you play links golf, you can visualize any shot on any non-links course as well. Some people don't have the vision to see that they can hit under a tree or around a tree or over a tree. They just think I can't make this shot. And
that's a good point.
Once you learn all these shots, golf's easier on any course, not just the links courses.
It is as simple as number 8 on my home course, Oak Meadow here in town at my club. It's got a lot of trees on the right, and I visit it periodically. And one of my go-to shots is a punch 5 iron in between 2 big oak trees to get it 60 yards up the fairway. But people talk about seeing that window, and can the caddy see the window where that ball needs to go? I mean, that's links golf.
Yeah, you got to love not hitting a wedge from 115 yards, but hitting an 8 iron and just punching it up there and taking about a 3/4 swing and hitting it the flag. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I love it. I love everything about it. So that good stuff. I wondered, as a segue, we talked a little bit about Woody earlier. And again, for those of you that are just joining us, Woody is Tom McWood. He's the gentleman in the picture you just saw a few minutes ago. He grew up with us, and he passed away at the young age of 52 about 12 years ago. Anyway, this is kind of a OldTam as a homage to Woody and some of his writings that you'll see here soon. But Al, you were there. I mean, you went to grade school with Woody, or to junior high all the way in through high school with us. Do you have any Woody stories you can share with us?
Yeah, I remember Woody and I and Charlie Dillenschneider ran around a lot, and shot baskets in the gym, and went to OSU and shot some baskets down under the stadium, etc. But one of my favorite things I did with Woody was we were I think in the maybe juniors in high school and maybe seniors in high school. But that summer, his sister was working for the Senator Gravely at the in Washington, and we went to the Senate office building, and he wasn't there, but we went into his office, took pictures there. But Woody and I got to play both Columbia Country Club, Congressional Country Club, and someplace else there that week. But Woody just was one of a kind. Most of the pictures of us in those pictures just show our fingers pointing like this at different things, like the Washington Monument, or like a picture over here. All that made it in there was our fingers. But we went to a embassy party for Russia or something like that. Anyway, we had the best time. But we did play Congressional, and we played with Ken Venturi's caddy. His name was Ward, and we found that out on the first tee. And Woody had a few questions for Ward, you know. we had the best time, and it was a historical walk for us. And Woody, and Woody's full of questions. The banter never stopped for the whole way around. So
yeah, he's not only was he a great golfer and golf course architect, historian. He was a researcher, historian. He was like a reporter too. He had the right question he'd pull out at any moment.
It caught his interest. It caught a spark in him. Golf did, and he was always interested in it. I never really knew the depth of it till after he was gone. But then I would find out things from my father, like Woody'd spend days and afternoons at Herds and Fry's library, looking up things and reading things, and then writing articles for the World Atlas of Golf, etc.
Golf Club Atlas.
I've read some of his stuff since I've discovered it, and it's very, very interesting. And he was a well-respected documenter of the game and of the architecture of the game. And I know it caught fire with you guys all in high school and college when you guys like to tour the country and sometimes be invited on courses and sometimes not, but you got to play a lot of courses, a lot of famous holes. How about that?
That's true. That we did. And you're referring to one of our collections that we'll talk about at a later date. Okay. But you're right. I mean, we had some great.
Right. That's just the limitations have run out now, Tommy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And we are going to include some of the Woody's writings on oldtamlinksgolf.com. As a matter of fact, I had a conversation with Rand Morissette, the founder of Golf Club Atlas, about Woody. He's like, "Oh yeah, let's get some of this stuff on there. It's really amazing stuff." So yeah, one short story I'll share with you. You know, Woody went everywhere. He talked his way onto every course. He did a trip out to Long Island and played all the greatest, the Maidstones and NGLA and so on and so forth. And in 1995, I was living out in Colorado at the time. I moved from Capitol Hill out west to Colorado, and I got a call from Woody. He's like, "Hey, we haven't played in a while. I want to come out there." Okay, sounds good. What are we going to do? He's like, "Yeah, there's a new course that's opening up. We'll do a little road trip from where you are back over into, Nebraska and then down to Kansas." I'm like, "Sounds great to me." So he came out, we played a round or two and warmed up, and then we hopped in my Tahoe, left at 5:30 in the morning and made a beeline, and 6.5 hours later, we're at Sand Hills. Everybody knows of Sand Hills. It's one of the greatest courses in the world now, right? So it wasn't even open yet. Woody had a conversation with the pro there, a guy named Jim Kidd, and talked his way on. So we showed up, and it was about noon or 12:30. Nobody there. Again, it wasn't open to the public yet or the membership, so nothing around. Walked in, and there was a pro, and we said hello and introduced ourselves. And Woody's like, "Yeah, we chatted a couple weeks back about you letting us on to play your wonderful course." And Jim Kidd just stared at us and said, "I don't recall that conversation." And then a pregnant pause for about 4 seconds. And then it's like, "Blah, of course. Yeah. How did you guys get here? Where'd you come from? How long did it take you to get here? Did you see the sign? How did you get here?" That kind of thing. So we played Sand Hills before it was open. I actually have a VHSC recording of it that I'm going to get put onto a media that I can put on the site. And then we left there. We had lunch. The restaurant was open. They had a soft opening. So we had a burger and fries, hopped in the car, and then we had another 4 or 5 hours south to where? Prairie Dunes. Same deal. Only we weren't quite as lucky at Prairie Dunes. The pros there's like, "Yeah, you guys just chill. I'll try to get you on." So 8 o'clock turned into noon, had lunch, went back to our hotel, turned into 2. And he's like, "Okay, you guys, you've hung in there long enough. All the members have teed off, so we're going to let you go." So I think we, it was in the summer. I think we teed off at probably 4:30 and we were done at about 9:30. Anyway, That's just Woody, right? I mean, that's what he did. Scooter.
I remember him making it his business to get the members directories at clubs he wanted to play at, and start just calling people. And he was a salesman. He could get on any course. I can just tell you, he could.
He could, and he was a
He could get us all on there as a foursome, and they'd pay for it. So that's how good he was.
Exactly. And one trip we did out to Shinnecock, for Scooter's Uncle Tom was a member there. Woody got into town a day early, Scooter, and talked his way onto Wingfoot and took a training there, and showed up with blue jeans on, and one of the doctors said, "Hey man, come here, I'll help you out. I've got some khakis in my locker. Let's go play," right?
Well, so on that trip, Red, Woody showed up at my loft and forgot his wallet. So he had no money when he got to New York City. The next morning, I loaned him some bucks, and he took the train up to White Plains. He hung around. He played in White Plains. He arrived back at my loft in Soho in a Ferrari. Some doctor gave him a ride all the way back in his Ferrari. And he showed up that night. The next day we went out to Long Island. It was quite a weekend, but Woody could talk his way into any course, anywhere, anytime. He was amazing.
It kind of reminds me of the episode of Seinfeld when Kramer talked his way onto Wingfoot and playing with these Cubans, and he came back and threw his clubs on the floor in Jerry's apartment.
Yeah.
You can't play Unio. Anyway,
Scooter, do you remember the traveler's checks? Do you remember the traveler's checks?
Well, that was the whole story, Red. He got to the loft and we were having a beer, and he's like, "Oh my God, I left my traveler's checks on my dresser at home." And I'm like, "What? Well, what are you going to do now?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know." He never knew what he was going to do.
This was before ATM machines and, credit cards were just becoming popular. How the hell did we get through that weekend? And then we had a wild time after playing Shinnecock, which was a wonderful round, right after the 86 Open, right?
Yeah.
Went back to your uncle's, went back to George McClancy's, coffee and beer and cigarettes all night, right? It's just as the movie goes.
Well, Red, after we played at Shinnecock, we went to a bar somewhere, and we're sitting there with my uncle and his wife, Margaret, and Woody was going back and forth to the payphone. This is like 1985, so it's traveler's checks and payphones. And he'd be talking to his wife on the phone, and she'd hang up on him. And every few minutes, he'd come back to the table and borrow some more quarters so he could go back and have her hang up on him again.
I remember him walking back after about the third call. Well, that went really well.
What a character.
Oh my.
I played tennis with Woody and Ed Schmidt the day before Woody passed.
Oh, really? Wow.
Never forget that. Yeah, we're getting out to try to start playing tennis, and maybe I'm not taking responsibility for it, but maybe we overtaxed him a little bit. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I got that story from Charlie, how he was cutting his lawn at the time. But anyway, Al, I think it was you. We had a conversation recent in the last few months. I think it was you that said Woody was Bill Murray before Bill Murray became Bill Murray,
and he was Kramer before Kramer was Kramer.
Yeah.
he had a sense of humor that was just unmatched.
I agree. So what I was going to say, guys, we're coming up on about a half an hour here. That's kind of our time frame that we allot for these interviews. And I have a couple questions for you, Al, if I could. Everybody has their dream foursome or gangsome of 5 or 6 guys that they would play with. You care sharing that with us?
Yeah, I thought I'd include myself as one of them, but I got a sixsome here. I got myself, and I've got my good friend who passed away a couple of years ago. His name's Rich King. That we did about 5 trips to Vegas together. But he was just a memorable guy. He was about 6'5", built like an ox, and we would always play $5 Nassaus on the course, but we'd always also have a putting contest. So we'd always play for 20 total stakes. But it sharpened my game. He said never go out and don't have something at stake. So we did that. And so Rich is just his wife lives down the hallway from me, but I think about him all the time. I got Woody on my sixsome because I enjoyed every single minute I spent with Woody, and
Amen.
I miss that. And then I've got old Tam on there, which is you, and then I've got Tom Watson on there.
Ooh.
I love the way he played the links courses. I love the played the British Open. I love how he did it at kind of an advanced stage for that, and I love the fact that he got sober too, which is pretty cool. And then I've got Scooter Flaherty on there, which is T.S. McDivitt, another moniker. But I just think we'd have a ball. I think we'd have a great golf trip.
I think we would. We need to put that fivesome together and hit a couple golf balls for Rich and Woody off the tee, right? I think it'd be a blast. But as far as Tom Watson goes, I would love to get him on and do an interview with him. I'm going to try to do that. Hello, Tom, if you're watching. Because one of the things he's doing, Scooter, you remember when we were at Ballybunion, he was redoing the cash-in course, the second course there at Ballybunion. Remember that?
Yep.
It wasn't quite done yet, but I think they were phasing in, Al. They were phasing in 3 or 4 holes at a time to open them up to the members. Because of time constraints, Scooter and I didn't get a chance to play it, but the guy that was our caddy was a member there of the caching course, and he raved about it. He says it will rival Ballybunion Old itself. So, yeah, Tom, and to your point about Tom, he's a true links golfer, isn't he? I mean, he won 5 Opens.
Yeah. Can't wait to go back and see some of the things that they do with some of the courses like that. That's amazing. I'm a member here in Bradenton at a Donald Ross course, built in 1924. It used to be called Palmasola Golf Club, and now it's called Bradenton Country Club. Probably lost some of the character over the years because it was a lot of trees grew, and it's kind of getting back to the old character now because we've taken so many trees down. The latest thing we're looking at is rerouting the course to the original routing and taking the contours to the original contours, the way Scioto did a few years ago. So we're working on that as a group to try to maybe recreate how it was in 1924. But
that's going on a lot. Sorry, that's going on a lot with Ross courses, right?
Yeah. The reason I joined there, number one, is proximity to where I live in Bradenton or Cortez, Florida. I got about a 12-15 minute drive to the course, and I'm there a lot, so that's good. But then the Donald Ross factor, that I grew up at Scioto and that it was a Donald Ross course, and I knew a little bit about raised greens and protected greens. And I'm not saying I've become much better before it, but I really enjoy playing it. Donald Ross designs to me are something you can play every day, and it'll be a little different because of the contours of the greens and the challenge of carrying it onto the greens, etc. Got another one about another 15 minutes away called Sarah Bay, which was a very historical course too. It was built in 1922 or 3, and just some really cool things down there. Babe Ruth played there, and some other people. Lots of cool stuff.
That's awesome.
But and I especially like it because I get to play the Texas wedge a lot. I do. I get to play the Texas wedge. I've had to learn how to play off of coquina, which is basically all of our cart paths are waste areas. And so everything that's not rough or fairway is a waste area on the course. So you don't get relief unless it's on a paved path, which we have very few of. So you're hitting right off of crushed shells. And so it's made me a better bunker player because I got to hit a lot of shots off it.
I bet it's probably a lot like hitting off of a bocce ball court, right? Crushed oyster shells. But to your Texas wedge comment, I mean, it's favorite club in the bag, right? It's so versatile. You use it more than any other club in your bag every day you play, right?
Yeah, I'm going to pick the club that I can get to have the best opportunity to have the next putt be close enough that I can make it. And I don't let my ego and even wanting to hit a great wedge shot interfere. I might hit a great 60 degree now and then, but I'm pretty good with the Texas wedge about getting it within 10 feet, so or less. So.
Which is typically for me is 70% of the time is better than using a chip, a wedge, or a 9-iron or whatever.
I don't scull it over the green either.
Exactly.
Or chili dip it in the off the fairway, whatever. So
back and forth.
It's a great life. All I can just tell you guys is I know we're not tying this up yet, but how great golf is to know people like you and to know people like we spent last night at our club. And there's a bunch of people. Look, I take lessons from Sean Jacklin, who's Tony Jacklin's son. Sean's played in the British Open twice. And then Tony, I run into him at the car dealer the other day. So anyway, there's just lots of history there. I play with Hollis Stacy now and then, who is a very, very big U.S. Open, U.S. Junior and Women's Champion, Open Champion. Paul Azinger's grandson plays at our course. So Paul's out there looping with his own clubs on his back once a week. I see him out there. So
Love it.
It's really cool. We got lots of retired former baseball players, Pirate players, Bill Blass, and anyway, there's lots of people out there that's really Milt May is out there, different people playing, calling bingo or whatever we do at the club and having dinner together, and it's a life. I mean, golf makes a life for you, and it's something you can use in your career. It's something you can use as a fellowship with your brothers, and you can travel. You can spend a lot of money on golf. Somebody told me the other day, I have a neighbor that's doing golf lessons with Sean too, but he lives in Switzerland. But he told me, he goes, "What a great sport." He goes, "There's more money you can spend here than any other sport." Because he had to buy a second set of clubs, one for Switzerland and one for here. But
I think we could attest to that, right, Scooter?
But
the green space over the pond at Ballybunion, or the European Club, or
in the end, we can't take any of our money or our treasure with us, but we can take our memories and our memories of Woody, and our memories of playing links golf, or our memories of even things like we're doing today. So this is what we can take with us, and that's what we need to make our lives all about.
I agree. It's great to be retired, and I've played more golf in the last 2 years than I played in the previous 25 combined, and I love it. And it's a great game. And to your point, Al, it's a great way to make new friends, to rejoin old friends, and doggone it, it's a great game. It just keeps us coming back, doesn't it?
I'm playing Tuesday with a guy playing Saturday with a guy from Columbus. It's a really good friend of mine that I haven't seen in 6 years. And then I'm playing Tuesday with two friends of my wife's that she went to high school with, just because they're in town, and it gives us something to do and a way to catch up for 4 hours. So, I can't wait
to get down there, because I tried once and a hurricane got in our way. What was that, 2 years ago, 2024 or whatever?
I know we'll see you down here, and you too, Scooter.
Yeah.
Good chat.
Well,
Good
let's
chat.
leave it with this, Al. One last question. Are there any links courses you look forward to playing? Are there any that are at the top of your list?
I haven't played that many at all, and I dream of it. I'm gonna. We talked about it last night at dinner. 8 of us going to play 4 or 5 courses next year. So
cool, good stuff.
I'll get from you guys. I played some U.S. links courses. I played some seaside courses, etc.
Sure.
Got to play in Nova Scotia at the Highlands and things like that. But I look forward to it.
Yeah, you'll get there soon enough, and we'll give you some pointers on putting you on some fun courses that Scooter and I enjoyed. So, well, thanks again, Al. It was awesome, great time. All we ask is that we can revisit, because this is a great time. I could do this every week, so we'll get you back on.
It's great to see you both and connect with you both, and see you both smiling, and just so for the users out there, no, I won't even say this. We do have a 50th high school reunion this summer, so hope to see you there.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
All right. We'll see you.
All right, gentlemen. Take care.
Over there.
We'll see ya.